Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending at what time of the day you're watching this episode of Data Formula One. My name is Patrick Henz, and I have the pleasure to welcome you. Mostly Ganna Pogrevna and I, we are doing these episodes jointly. Sometimes, like today, it's just me speaking about a topic to dig a little bit deeper. As for example, today, as we speak about GLAS Formula One, the Mexican Formula One team that never existed, it's a little bit special for me. I wrote about this already some years back. Also, it includes some kind of investigation. And the result I can show you today, as this is really a mystery up to today and fascinating. It includes Formula One, mystery, and most likely also crime. So welcome again, GLAS Formula One, the Mexican Formula One team that never existed. As you see the logo of the racing team here, and speaking about seeing, if you only hear me now, if you have the ability, check out YouTube Music, and Spotify, because here we have the video version where we always show you data, text, photos, drawings, images to underline a little bit what we are telling you here. So based on the press map which GLAS provided to the journalists for the presentation of the car, what you see here is the official logo as it should had been on the branded on the cars, the team logos, etc., etc. So this had been the GLAS logo. What means GLAS? I will tell you later. First of all, a little bit the beginning. At the end of the 1980s, a young Mexican businessman named Fernando González Luna Bueno had a vision to establish an all-Mexican Formula One team, owned by Mexicans and employing local drivers. This concept was similar, for example, to the 1974 Brazilian Copa-Sul car team founded by Wilson Fittipaldi together with his brother, the Formula One champion Emerson Fittipaldi, as well as the earlier North American racing team NAD. NAS, established in 1958 by Italo-American businessman and driver Luigi Chinetti, had the primary goal to promote Ferrari on the US market. Also, we had in '64 the situation that Enzo Ferrari had been in discussion with national organizations because he not felt adequately appreciated, supported by Italian government, arguing that he is representing Italy on the international racetracks. And as he not felt appreciated, he discussed with his US partner, Luigi Chinetti, to let the cars of the Scuderia Ferrari for the US and Mexican races being managed directly by NART, and also the cars started with the white and dark blue stripe instead of the traditional red by the Scuderia Ferrari. Quite successful. Ferrari, together with NART, got not only the drivers' championship for John Surtees, but also the manufacturing championship. Copa-Sur, even if this yellow had been quite a beautiful livery, the different colors of the rainbow representing all the passion for life, the fun of Brazilian, which they often show, but not overly successful. I mean, we had also earlier examples, as for example, OneWell having an all-British team to compete for the first time successfully against the Italian makers. So Fernando González Luna Bueno had the idea having an all-Mexican team owned by Mexicans, Mexican drivers, Mexican sponsors. Makes sense. Mexico, big market, a lot of passion for motorsports. So this had been the idea, which unfortunately never realized. And today we discuss why this happened. Then now we're at the end of the 1980s. In 89, Gonzalez founded Gonzalez Luna and Associates, that's why it's called GLAS, and began searching for local sponsors. Logical one would be here Pemex, the state-owned petroleum company, who also, for example, had been a sponsor for the Brabham team, and other potential investors. The initial phase of the project progressed well, so the next step was to secure a suitable engine. Thanks to his strong connections and perseverance skills, he managed to convince Italian Lamborghini Engineering, at the time part of the Chrysler Group, today it would be Stellaris, as a potential, Chrysler would be today Stellaris, but now Lamborghini is part of the Volkswagen Group, especially together with Audi. Lamborghini was not only expected to supply the engine, but also to develop and produce the chassis. To facilitate this, GLAS committed to invest 20 million US dollar, a big sum for that time. Also, you have to know that Lamborghini Engineering was founded by Lamborghini with the explicit goal to challenge Ferrari and other strong teams, competitors on the racetrack, as they are challenging them to sell street cars. They thought it would be, for marketing reason, a good idea to challenge them also on the racetrack to promote the Lamborghini brand. So really, they had at that time, the Lamborghini Engineering, they had been looking for a partner to join Formula One. So that's why Gonzalez Luna was at the right time, at the right place to meet Lamborghini and convince them. This is a little bit how the team should have looked like. The team director was planned to be the Italian journalist Leopoldo Canettoli. Also, even if it should have been an all-Mexican team, it was planned to be located in Modena, Italy. This because of the logistics in Italy, in this region nearby. For example, Ferrari, we had a lot of specialized motorsports company. Of course, Lamborghini was also located here, so a logical choice. The designer for the car should have been Mario Tolentino, and who worked, for example, for the Alfa Romeo Formula One team, later for the Swiss Eurobrunn team, and also for Dallara. The engineering, the chassis should have been designed by Mauro Forgeri, well known as working for Ferrari. And the driver, as already mentioned, should be Mexican. And here the choice had been Giovanni Aloy, who already participated in the Formula 3000 series. Brief profile: Fernando González Luna Bueno. Fernando González, Fernando was the first name, and then González Luna Bueno. The family names, I assume it's González as coming from the father, and Luna Bueno as the family name from the mother, as it's common in Mexican tradition. First family name coming from the father, the second from the mother. He had been born in April 25, 65 in the country's capital, Mexico City, and he should be responsible for Formula One. We will speak later a little bit about the family. Fernando González Luna Bueno's family had good relations into the Mexican society, especially the Mexican Conservative Party, PAN. Next, Juan Alberto González Aloy Timius Salvado, the driver. He had Swiss starts in 1990 in the Formula 3000 series. And as he realized that his driving career would lead nowhere, especially as the chance for entering Formula One, which had been the logical next step if you're in Formula 3000, this GLAS didn't work out. So beside this, after this, he became from 95 to 2002 Matador in Mexico. And today he's a local businessman in the energy sector. Besides this, president of the Federación Mexicana de Vela Sailing Organization. Uh, the same as his potential team owner, he has very good relations into Mexican society, especially the conservative PAN part. So he mentions on his website he can support you with the energy sector. Also, he's referring to his good relations with Vicente Fox, the first Mexican first president in Mexico coming from PAN, and his follower Felipe Calderón, who also had been president from the Conservative Party. So I don't know how well his relations are today, as we have the new left-wing party, but nevertheless, he is still active in the energy sector, and I'm sure even if we have different government now, he still has good relations in the whole bureaucratic governmental energy network. So this is what I show you here. This is directly taken from his website. So if you want to search for him, you find this. Also, let's shortly speak about Ferruccio Lamborghini. He was an Italian automobile designer, inventor, mechanic, engineer, winemaker, industrialist, and businessman who created Automobili Lamborghini in 1963, a maker of high-end sports cars in the Santa Agata Bolognese area, so quite near Ferrari, Maserati, and other companies, Emilia-Romagna, where we have all this motorsports cluster. Born April 28, 1960, in the Kingdom of Italy, as it was still called then, and he died in 93, only some years later than Enzo Ferrari, even though he was much younger. He's famous for his rivalry with Enzo Ferrari, so just to repeat in short, Lamborghini made his fortune with tractors for the farming. I mean, Emilia-Romagna famous for the quality of its food. So he bought various Ferrari's cars, but he had some suggestions for Ferrari, what to change with the car to make them better. These ideas had not been well perceived by Enzo Ferrari, and he should have told him that he should stay with his tractors because he doesn't know anything about sports cars. But then, of course, Lamborghini didn't perceived well, and he felt motivated to start building sports cars himself, which becomes then the Lamborghini brand. Nevertheless, he wanted to avoid that his son enters motorsports. This because beginning of 1960s, it was unfortunately still quite common that every year various drivers died in fatal accidents, independent if we speak about Formula One, endurance, or other series. That's why also he decided that Lamborghini should not directly participate in motorsports, something which then changed later as he was not the final decision makers again, but his company was sold to Chrysler. Let's come back directly to GLAS Formula One. The GLAS 001 was nearly finished and presented already to the Italian newspaper Autosprint. But then, out of nowhere, in June 1990, González Luna mysteriously disappeared. The team had already arranged for the car set to be driven by Mauro Baldi, who already drove for Alfa Romeo in the 83 season and in 84 for Spirit Racing. So he should be the test driver making some laps for the journalists. The car should be transported by truck from Modena to Paris, where it would then be flown to Mexico City for the first race of the 1990 season. And before this, it was planned to have a big presentation for the local, but also the international press, presenting the car and the team as the new local all-Mexican racing team. However, Upon realizing González Luna's disappearance, the team ordered the truck to return to Modena as Lamborghini managed to save costs. As mentioned, Jonas Bonner convinced Lamborghini because he wanted to invest 200 million US dollar, which in the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, was a lot of money. And Lamborghini, even though if they had the goal to fight Ferrari on the racetrack, had, to be honest, a very limited budget. So they had to save everywhere they came. And if the big responsible disappeared in thin air, so to say, they thought, don't spend the money, fly the car to Mexico City, but keep it here in Italy. Despite the setback, work on the car continued, particularly as Lamborghini recognized its potential and remained highly interested in entering Formula One. So Lamborghini temporarily took ownership of the team and sold it then to the Italian businessman Carlo Patrucco. He was the former head of the Italian sports clothing company Fila. The team's name was changed to Modena Team SPA, but fans and officials continued to call it Lambo. This also to avoid confusion with the driver Stefano Modena, who was in that year racing for Brabham. Mauro Forgeri was appointed to organize and manage the team. González Luna Buena fled after allegedly having an Interpol arrest warrant issued against for suspected drug trafficking, which maybe would have explained how he could promise 20 million US dollar for the Formula One racing team. Again, here we are speculating. Who is Mauro Forghieri? Very famous name. He was an Italian mechanical engineer, best known for his work as a Formula One racing car designer with Scuderia Ferrari during the 1960s and 70s. He's credited with introducing the first designed rear wings to Formula One at the 68 Belgian Grand Prix, Spa-Francorchamps. During Forghieri's tenure with Ferrari, the company won the Formula One World Drivers' Championship 4 times and the Formula One World Constructors' Championship even 7 times. After leaving Ferrari in '87, he worked at Lamborghini, as we are discussing at the moment, and later he went to Bugatti, then founded the Oral Engineering Group in '95. He was born January 1935 in Modena, Italy, and then died only some years ago, November 22, also Modena, Italy. On the right, you see him here with the later champion John Surtees, I think it is, and so quite nice picture from back in the times. Modena Team SPA. Against all odds, the team achieved its goal and entered the 1991 Formula One season with the future Ferrari and later Alfa Romeo touring car driver and also touring car champion Nicola Larini and his Belgian teammate Eric van der Poel. Race success was limited as expected for a small and new team. In most races, the cars failed to qualify. The best result came already at the first race, where Larini finished on the 7th position at the US Grand Prix. Unfortunately, the team was unable to secure new sponsors for a second season, and at the end of the 91 season also marked the end of the Modena team. If you are watching us on YouTube, YouTube Music, Spotify, you see here the picture of the 91 Lambo 291. Of course, this is not the car which should have been presented as the GLAS 001, but you may think it was both designed by Mauro Forghieri. It's an evolution of the GLAS design, so a car looking very similar than the GLAS 001. And now we are speaking a little bit about the family. As I already said, he came originally from a wealthy, well-established Mexican family. So let's go back in time. Efrain González Luna, born in Outland, Jalisco, in October 1889 and died in Guadalajara, also in the state of Jalisco in 1964, was a Mexican politician and lawyer who served as the first presidential candidate for the National Action Party, PAN, which I mentioned, is the conservative party in Mexico, long term in the 20th century in the opposition, but only relatively at the end of the century came into government with the two presidents. A party whose foundation he significantly contributed to alongside other figures like Manuel Gomez Morin. He was the father of Efraín González Luna Morfin. Efraín González Luna was a Mexican politician and lawyer, as we already said, who served for the first candidate for the presidency of the Mexican Republic for the National Action Party. And you see here the profile, as already mentioned, and here on the right you see the photo of the person, a photo which was taken in 1951. Efraín González Luna Morfin, better known as Efraín González Morfin, to differentiate him from his father, also was a lawyer and politician who stood out as a candidate presidential election for the National Action Party in the federal elections of Mexico in 1970, which he lost against the candidate from the pre-party, which rules practically since the Mexican Revolution. Well, not only practical, there had been the same group coming from the revolutions. Born in 1929 in Guadalajara, in the state of Jalisco, and died in Zapopan, which is nearly a part of Guadalajara, so in the same state. Here on the right, you see him, a photo from 1951, where he was active at a party event, speaking about to his followers. Then we have here Federico González Luna Bueno, and he's a Mexican politician affiliated with the Green Party, a small party which have been founded, was it in the 90s or the end of the 80s? He served as a deputy for Mexican Congress representing the state of Veracruz, at the state at the Atlantic. He had been general director of Ibero-American Telecommunications Organization and former part of the Televisa, the biggest Mexican TV channel, legal department. So again, lawyer by profession. As I've mentioned before, due to Mexican tradition, the first family name, González, comes from the father. Luna Bueno comes from the mother. And due to this, we can conclude that Federico is the brother. But even with investigation in the internet, there are no official mentioning of Federico to his brother or confirming any kind of connections which we may have, which may be understandable due to the interesting, well, or the mysterious fate of his brother disappearing. So that's all and what we can think about Fernando González Luna Bueno. Disappeared for so many years, maybe disappearing with money, maybe not. So practically there are only two options. First of all, he had money and was afraid, as maybe the money came from drug cartels, and some is still maybe living today at one place with a false name, maybe with a changed face, happily. Or the other option, and maybe most more likely, he got the money from drug trafficking, and somebody didn't like him, and unfortunately he is lying somewhere 3 feet under, or his body was somehow differently made disappeared, which I would assume is the more likely idea of what happened to Fernando González Luna Bueno, the person with the vision having an all Mexican team. I asked Federico via email, but as expected, he did not reply. So this stays a mystery up to today. Of course, a pity. I mean, having this team, Lamborghini, the engine was not bad, so they could have established themselves having a big sponsorship as Pemex, and again uh, paid, for example, the Brabham team to be a sponsor, and this also because Brabham had a Mexican driver, and to whom we come now because this Mexican driver founded his own Mexican Formula One team, and this Mexican team, yes, existed. We are speaking about Team Rebaque, a Mexican Formula One entered and constructor based in Leamington Spa, UK, made its mark in the sport by participating in 30 Grand Prix. Initially, the team competed with cars purchased from Team Lotus, but later developed its own car, the Rebaque HR 100, which was raced in the team's final 3 events before its closure. With 19 successful qualifications and a best finish of 6th place at the 1978 German Grand Prix, Team Rebaque earned a single point in the World Constructors' Championship. On the right, you see the 1979 Lotus 78. When we speak about the Rebaque HR 100, this was not a car designed from scratch, sorry, but it was practically an evolution of this Lotus. That's why the car looks very similar to this Lotus 78. Unfortunately, I didn't find photos where I had the rights to show you, and that's why I only can tell you it looks very similar to the Lotus. As you can see here, the livery had been the same dark brown, so quite 70s color, and main sponsor had been Carta Blanca, a Mexican beer company located, if I'm correct, in Monterrey in the north of the country. The owner, founder of the team had been Hector Alonso Rebaque, who was driving in Formula One for Brabham besides Nelson Piquet. And to be honest, Rebaque was the paid driver. He never had any chance against Nelson Piquet. This may be for 2 factors. Nelson Piquet, very strong driver. And honestly, I don't think that Hector Alonso was on the same level of talent than Piquet. And on the other hand, I think Brabham strongly focused on Piquet, meaning Rebaque never had the same support, maybe not a car on the same technical level. And of course, not the support by mechanics, engineers, etc. The car was designed for Piquet, not for Rebaque. So all these factors together, maybe similar as we can compare it to 2024 Red Bull, the relation between Verstappen and Perez, quite similar to what we had at Brabham between Piquet and Rebaque. Nevertheless, Rebaque had the support of Pemex, which you see also on his race overall. The Pemex logo have been prominently also on the Brabham race car, so he had budget, he had money, which he took to Brabham. And as he left Brabham, he had this money to found his own team, Rebaque. So he was a Mexican former racing driver who raced in Formula One. And after this quite logical step for Mexican drivers, he joined the US kart IndyCar series in the 70s and 80s. He also ran his own Formula One team, but we already discussed 78 and 79. Born 1956 in February, Mexico City, He had been active for Heskes, Rebaque, and Brabham. In total, 58 entries and nevertheless 13 points. September 19th of 82, Rebaque became the first Mexican driver to win an IndyCar race, Road America 200 with Marge Cosmos. Also here, Carta Blanca had been one of the main sponsors. So not only Pemex, but also Carta Blanca, relevant sponsor of Rebaque's career. So even if I said, due to my opinion, he wasn't on the same level as Piquet, it does not mean that he did not have talent. So yes, he was in Formula One, and he has a reason of being in Formula One, not only based on sponsors, but also based on talent. And this he showed, for example, in the US Kart Series, where at least he could win one race. Coming back to the Arch 100, in 1979, Rebaque maintained his alliance with Lotus and acquired the championship-winning Type 79 chassis. He also commissioned Penske to construct the Rebaque HR 100 designed by Geoff Race, with contributions from John Bennett, also a very famous name in Formula One, former wonderkind until he went to Ferrari, what didn't work out that well. But that's, I think, a topic for a different episode. The car's design drew inspiration from the Lotus 79 and incorporated elements of the Williams FV07 sideboards. Although the Rebaque HR 100 was completed in time for the Italian Grand Prix, it was unable to qualify or finish the last 3 races of the season. So all participations of the Rebaque team had been with the Lotus team, not with the Rebaque HR 100, as it never qualified. The team was disbanded at the end of the year, with Rebaque himself joining the Brabham team in the middle of the following season, as I said, paired with Nelson Piquet. Yes, it raced once, was twice not qualified and once retired. So not a very successful car, but on the other hand, it was never given this time, I think, to really develop until the end. Okay, that's this episode. Formula One mystery crime podcast, up to your judgment, but it's an interesting chapter of the sports, a chapter of this, I think, generally forgotten today, but I think these chapters is also what makes the sports so interesting. Thinking about what could have happened if this worked out. Maybe we would have had this team, GLAS Formula One, several years in the sports. Maybe Lamborghini would have further developed their engine. Who knows? And again, who knows what happened with him? We never know. I think we will never know. Maybe we will know, but honestly, I would assume it will never be solved. Okay, that's all I have for today. If you liked it, please subscribe the podcast, give it a like, highly appreciated. If you have any suggestion for a topic which you want us to talk about, also please comment this to us. If you are into music, please check out on Spotify Data Driven F1 Mixtape. A lot of songs inspired and dedicated to Formula One drivers and the sports himself. I think you may like it. Until then, see you. Bye bye.